Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 16th day of February 2024. And indeed, I want to start first of all with an apology for not being here last Friday. There were some pressing matters, of course, and I've always said that once I'm unable to come, we'll just have a rerun of the previous week or some other week which would have gone by. So that's what we did last week, and I try my best as much as possible to be here in your company every Friday afternoon. But of course, circumstances sometimes mitigate against that, and we just have to go with the flow. But one of these days I'll have a co-host or a sidekick or someone who I can rely on, so we'll share the program at some point in the future. But be that as it may, it's good to be here once again for another edition of this program. And indeed, let me shout out all of the folks who are listening at this time. We generally have a large cross-section of viewers and listeners, so at least we can start all the way over there in St. James at the bottom of Zion Hill and come through the constituency of St. James, Butlers, Brick Hill, Potworks, Barnaby, camps, all the way up to Mount Lily Fountain and down into Newcastle and all of the areas in between there. They're in the constituency or parish of St. James. Indeed, we can go into the parish of St. Thomas Parish, and say good afternoon to all of the folks in Cotton Ground, Jessops, Bansgott and the likes, and indeed into St. Paul's. We normally say Charlestown because that is where the capital is at, but we just say Charlestown for short, but it's the entire parish of St. Paul's we're talking about. And then up into St. John's Parish, Brown Hill, Prospect, all the way into Cox and Beaumont and those places, and of course into St. George's Parish down into Hanley's Road up in Rollins. Before I get that far, let me say Cleggott and those areas as well, meets Pasha. So I've covered the whole of Nevis and down into Zion once again, right back down where I started at the bottom of Zion Hill. So I've covered the entire island of Nevis and all of the areas in between. I say good afternoon to you. I like doing it this way because everyone would want their village or community mentioned, but we can't. So I just make a trek around the island, and that is good enough for me, and hopefully it's good enough for you as well. Of course, we have followers down there in St. Kitts as well, the entire island of St. Kitts. That is a part of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, or to be official, we say St. Christopher and Nevis. And of course, St. Kitts from all the way down here, close to us there in the peninsula, and way down in the country over into Diet Bay and St. Paul's and Sadlers and those places over in the northwest. So that is the Federation for you. Indeed, yesterday I was able to communicate with some folks from Statia, and they have also said they have been listening not only to this program but all of the programs that emanate from here on Von Radio. We go into St. Bart's and St. Martin, French and Dutch St. Martin. Good afternoon to all of you down there in St. Martin. It's always good to be in your company. It's always good to talk to you, and it's always good to have that kind of rapport with you, because you are very important, as everyone else, important to us here on the island of Nevis. A little bit of history. When persons left Nevis to seek a better life, so to speak, a lot of the folks from the Windward area, from St. James and to some extent St. Thomas Parish, would have gone down into St. Martin. And indeed, the history would show that those who would have left St. John's and some parts of Charlestown as well would have gone down into the U.S. Virgin Islands, U.S. and British Virgin Islands, of course. And primarily because if you had a family member already there, you would have gone and be with them so that you can get your start, so to speak, in those countries. So that is how persons would have scattered themselves here in the Caribbean, and of course in the United States. Persons are scattered all over the United States. But let me say hello to the Virgin Islands, British and U.S. Virgin Islands as well, Puerto Rico, the United States as well, from all the way up in the northeast down to the south there in South Florida, and across the Midwest into the west and northwest and so forth. I've I love saying that because geography is important. It is important for persons to know. I believe most of us, if we were given a blank page of the United States, that is, I'm sure a lot of us, many of us, can actually label it with the location of each state where they are on that map, the United States, that is. And of course, we go up to Europe, England, France, Germany, and all the way into Asia. So I've covered everyone. I want to move on quickly because we have a few things planned for this afternoon. So I just wanted to make sure that we have everyone who is able to listen at this point of the day, whether it's your lunch, whether it's your breakfast, whether it's that time of the morning when you're turning over in your bed, as is the case in Asia. I say welcome to you. We are very happy that you can always join us, because without you there is no show. That being said, we can go on to something else. I want to at this point express sympathies and support to persons and families that are grieving at this time. Actually, this afternoon is the funeral service of Mrs. Bernice Eaton over there at the St. James Anglican Church. And those of you who are not aware, and you can still go to lend your support, please go and do so. I will be somewhat late this afternoon, but I certainly will go across when I'm done to lend my support to the family. Next week, Friday, I believe the 23rd of February, over there at the Gingerland Methodist Church, that will be the service for the late Joseph Liebert. From what I heard, I believe that is the case next week over there at the Gingerland Methodist Church. That's where we'll go to pay our respect and final respects, that is, to the family and passing of Mr. Liebert. We're still, recovering from those news that we would have got back about 2 weeks ago. That being said, I've always said it as well to remind us that we're all just passing through. This is like a revolving door. You're in and you're out, and it's like you're born, you live, and of course you will die at some point. So it is always good to make the best of life once you're here on earth, because once you're done, there's a finality to it. You're done, and that is the whole thing, really. You just have to enjoy what you have before you. So that being said, and I talk about enjoying, so people are celebrating today too. People have their birthday, people have their wedding anniversaries, people have all kinds of celebrations today. And one comes to mind, someone who comes to mind is Mr. Jensen France. But that's an expensive name, but I'm talking about Winky. Those of you who know Winky over there in camps? Yeah, man, today's Winky's birthday. Knowing Winky is somewhere around Charlestown or somewhere in the island of Nevis enjoying himself. Winky, I'll have that little something that I normally give you every year, yeah? So when I catch up with you later or even tomorrow, I'll have it for you, but you go ahead and enjoy yourself. And what I'll say to you, be careful, Winky. Winky is that guy who takes care of Herbert Beach, keep it clean. He's like the guard, the watchman, and the mayor of Herbert Beach, because sometimes he see things and he would call me and tell me. And while I'm at that, he did tell me to mention to the general public that those of you who go down to Herbert Beach to remove those, those bed grass or mat grass, what do we call them, those hard grass that keeps the soil together down there in the area where we'll have the Herbert Beach affair. There are persons who go down there from time to time and cut that grass out and leave a gaping hole so that when it rains, it's muddy, it's mucky, and it's not a good thing at all. It's not a good sight also. And those grass are there for a reason, because Herbert Beach indeed is close to the ocean, and if you ever have, let's say, high waves or waves that break over the bank down there, those grass would help to protect the soil and prevent soil erosion. So I'm asking persons who would go down there and do such things as digging up and cutting out and removing those grass, please refrain from doing so. We want to protect the soil down and protect that property. It is an important piece of real estate to all of us here in the island of Nevis. So Winky, I've delivered your message to the entire Nevis community and those who would have heard me I'm sure those who are guilty of doing such will refrain from doing that. Also celebrating today is Mr. Dennis Hanley. We know him as Adok from up here in Prospect, but he's a real Fountain man. He's originally from Fountain. He's the brother to persons like Maris Hanley and also Mrs. Paula Hanley Wallace, or Paula Wallace, Roma, and others. So I want to express birthday greetings to Adok. And I'm sure I can do so, Adok, on behalf of Veronica Brown and Washi Brown out of Boston, because I'm sure they would have called you already. Those are my good friends. So I'm actually expressing on their behalf. If they have done so, well, I'm multiplying it. If they haven't done so as yet, then I'm doing so until they call. But enjoy yourself today, Adok, and have yourself a wonderful time. I thought I saw you over there working in Gingerland area this morning already, so you're not the type to stay home when you have a birthday, I suppose. Birthday or not, you're going out to work, which is your thing. Some of us love to take the day off and just pamper ourselves, relax, and say, why? If this is the last, let me have a good one. But I enjoy what is left of it. But before I move on, let me actually put this in as well, because yesterday was the birthday of my very good friend, Mrs. Fiona Herbert, oh Lord, Matthew? Fiona, I apologize, but I am sure it is Matthew. Yeah? If it's not, forget about that. Fiona for short. My old-time classmate and friend, former Miss Culture. I bet a lot of people in Nevis don't remember that Fiona was a former Miss Culture. I believe it was in 1986, if my memory serves me right. Fiona, yeah man, Fiona had a lot of spunks and so forth then, so she went in for the Queen Show and she won. That Rollin lady, one of a few who would have won the Miss Culture crown from there in Rollin. So Fiona, listen, I was late yesterday with my greetings because I was moving back and forth, and so and I did reach out to you last night, and I'm reaching out again to make up. And all I want you to do is to continue enjoying yourself for the rest of February. Man, you have my blessings. Go ahead and enjoy yourself for the rest of the year, because you're such a queen that I want you to enjoy your birthday for the rest of this year and beyond. So I wish you many more, Fiona. I spent some time on that because you've been a true friend to me, and we go way back, you know. And we love you, we appreciate you, and you continue doing the best that you can in terms of assisting, helping, and doing what you can to help persons out there. But enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, and the rest of your celebration. Okay, oh, I almost forgot. My friend, and I can say that, and when you say friend publicly, you mean that. Mr. Bernard and Mrs. Verdon Myers celebrated their 44th wedding anniversary yesterday. So it was a combination. No, that was Valentine's was the day before. So it's almost, they celebrate Valentine and then went into a wedding. What a celebration that was 44 years ago. So Bernard, you and Verdon, I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday, and I'm actually expressing my best wishes to you so that you can, celebrate more anniversaries with this excellent and wonderful union that you have. But while I'm saying that, I understand that you have also lost your uncle. That's Bernard, that is Mr. Taylor, down there at Old Hospital Road, to the back of that the old Jehovah Witness Kingdom Hall. I know Taylor. Taylor used to work, I believe, at the government garage, if I can recall. He has a son who works there still, and he's a good welder up there at the government garage. Those of you who know Mr. Taylor, I forgot his first name, but I'm seeing him in front of me as I speak here. But he has passed, and he's the uncle of Mr. Bernard Myers, and he would have informed me of that earlier. So Bernard, accept my sympathies on behalf of myself and all of us here, the entire Nevision community, and I express sympathies to the entire family as well on the passing of Mr. Taylor. At some point, I'm sure we'll hear of the funeral service, and those of us who can, go out and be a part of it, will be a part of it. That being said, let's move on. Homecoming celebration. Culturama 50 is in the air, and everybody's talking about Culturama. Eh? You hear a lot of promotions being done. You hear all kind of influencers out there who are putting out there a little bit to help this thing along. And I want to actually at this point in time also give my support to all who are pushing this whole thing of Culturama out there, because we want it to be one of the biggest, one of the best, and one of the grandest ever, and it's shaping up that way. So I want persons out there to stay in tune in terms of what is being offered. But right now, as it stands, we would have heard from the Premier and the Nevis Island administration. They are offering these incentive packages in terms of if you want to spruce up your property, build a driveway, walkway, paint up your house, do whatever is necessary. They are offering concession to homeowners, residents, churches. And I want persons to go down to the Ministry of Finance, because I can talk about it all day, but we also have to go down and get all of the information there at the Ministry of Finance and sign up for these incentive packages. Of course, you have waivers on the duty and also the custom service charge. Then you'll pay the VAT as well. And indeed, there's also homestay, this homestay initiative, that you can find out more information at the Ministry of Tourism. So they'll have all those information available for you. So I want to say to the Nevision public, go out and take advantage of what is being offered. We always hear that the foreigner comes in, get all of the incentive packages, and our local people are left out. So this is a case where we have gone above and beyond as an administration to offer as much as we can to our local people to take advantage of these things. So go out and do that. They'll inform you at the Ministry of Finance and at the Ministry of Tourism exactly what you have to do to qualify and to take advantage. It's there for one and all. So I did say from the onset that we have a few things to cover this afternoon. Well, listen, over the last year almost, I've been coming here by myself and I've been talking. And I went and reached out to a good friend of mine and said, man, come and be my first guest. So we're registering this afternoon that we're making history. We have our first guest on Point for this particular program. First guest for the year as well too. So there's a first for in every case, and this is one of those such cases where we have a first timer. And I want to introduce to the Nevision public and to the listeners here and abroad our first guest for this afternoon, Mr. Jamir Claxton. Jamir Claxton is known to everybody. He's a Batman, right from right back here. Well, let me say a Batman, period. And he's one who is an enthusiastic person, one who is involved in sport. He's the Director of Sports within the Ministry of Sports in the Nevis Island Administration. So he carries a lot of weight, but he does his work with a lot of confidence and a lot of fun behind it too, because sports should be fun. Competitive, yes, but it's also fun. Jamir, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jeffers, and thank you for having me on your show.
And welcome once again. And of course, we are talking about sports, but you know, in your daily routine, you have to cover all angles of sports and all discipline, whether it's cricket, football, athletics, as this season is the athletic season, and of course, tennis. Well, I just started playing tennis again recently. I need to get back out and get more involved in tennis, and I'm asking persons out there to get involved as well. It's one of those great sports. Yeah, but this afternoon we want to talk some athletics, because this is the season, just like how you have the athletic season in the international community. What do you call it? The Diamond League, where you move around to different countries, whether it's wherever, Zurich, wherever you go to, in Switzerland. But you have this league. But here in Nevis, we have a league too, because all the schools are involved in athletics, and then it boils down to inter-school, inter-primary, and then inter-high and that kind of thing. So there's some directions in which we go here in the island and in the federation as well. So you can start, Jamir, and give us a rundown as to what is happening out there in terms of sports, athletics that is, and where we are with the season and what is to come.
Okay, so as you would have alluded to, we are in the heart of the track and field season here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Currently, the school sports are ongoing, the individual school sports are ongoing. We've had thus far the Gingerland Secondary School Sports, which was held last evening, and on last Sunday we had the Charleston Secondary School Sports. And then over the next couple of weeks we're going to be having the various primary school sports as well. As it relates to the Department of Sports and Ministry of Education, there are a number of inter-school sports that we are going to be working closely with different organizations with. So on February 25th, which is coming up shortly, we have a meet called the Jinxing Up Classic, which is sponsored by the breweries, and that will feature schools from high schools from both St. Kitts and Nevis, so Gingerland Secondary, Charleston Secondary, SEMS, which is Sandy Point, Barcy High School, Washington Archibald High School, Birchers High School, Keon High School, and Sadler's Secondary School. So that is going to be a very good event. It's like a precursor to the TDC Inter-High.
Right.
Of course, limited events, but it's going to give you a good judgment, a little range of where the athletes are in terms of the preparation for the big one, which is TDC Inter-High.
So some of the races or some of the
Yeah, so some of the races for the Jinxing Up Classic, we're going to have the 100, the 400, 800, 4x1, the 4x4 mix, and 80 meters, 60 meters and 80 meters hurdles. No field events for that particular event.
Gotcha.
That event, the Jinxing Up Classic, is a collaboration between the Department of Sports St. Kitts and the Department of Sports and Education here in Nevis.
Okay, and that would be at the...
And that will be at the Mondo Track, Nevis Athletic Stadium. And so, as I mentioned, February 25th, and the meet commences at 12:30 p.m.
Okay, very good. And then out of that, we go into...
So, following that one, we go into the Bank of Nevis High School Championship. But before we get to the Bank of Nevis High School Championship, we also be... Well, SKN Athletics will also be hosting the Carifta Trials here in Nevis, which is good, and that will be on March 2nd. Yeah, so this is where the athletes who haven't qualified for Carifta yet has another opportunity to try and meet the prerequisite marks in terms of times when it comes to the races, in terms of distances when it comes to the jumps and the throws, and height when it comes to the high jumps. So the Carifta Trials is also another big event. We are happy to be having it over here in Nevis this year, because we'll get an idea to see our potential Carifta athletes, those who will represent the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in Grenada this year. We have to. We've had so far. You know, we've had a number of meets so far at the Mondo Track, a number of classics, KFC Classics, Next Gen Classic, SLR Classic, and we've had a number of persons qualifying based on the meets that have been held in Nevis so far.
So essentially, if someone, an athlete, participate in the sporting activity on the 25th, and they meet a certain time, then they can actually qualify
for Carifta. Yeah. The SKN Athletics has set the standards, so once these standards are met, then the person qualifies for Carifta, the St. Kitts Nevis Carifta team.
And it must be noted as well that if, for example, a particular athlete leave here and goes to, let's say, Jamaica, runs in a race there, and meet a certain standard, then that would pre-qualify them
for Carifta.
I understand. Okay,
definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so after the second...
So after the second, we move on to March 9th and 10th, and we have the Bank of Nevis Limited High Schools Championship. Nevis High Schools Champion. This is a special championship which we revived about 4 years ago here in Nevis, featuring the Charleston Secondary School, the Gingerland Secondary School, and the Nevis International Secondary School. At this point, I want to really take the opportunity to thank the Bank of Nevis for coming on board. The first year we had the meet, we didn't have a sponsor, but in their eyes, we did such a good job executing the meet that they reached out to us, had discussions, and now they are an official sponsor and partner of the meet. And through our planning this year and our number of meetings we've had, we are already thinking about ways of going to meet in the future. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the board and management of the Bank of Nevis Limited for being a very good partner. They have input in what we do. We consult them on a number of things that we try to do, and they are very invested in this meet over the long term. So I want to thank them at this point in time.
Yes. Okay. So, and I also would like to join with you in congratulating or thanking the Bank of Nevis, because you see, everything these days costs money,
yes.
and you can only perhaps get the best out of your athlete if you're able to offer the necessary incentive. That trophy or that medal is indeed an incentive for that athlete to but it means more than that. It really means more than that, because the corporate community is always look towards for supporting in all sporting discipline, and it's important for us also to reciprocate that type of support and support the various business houses as well here on the island. So thanks to all who continue to contribute. So we come out of the Nevis High School Championship,
and then we go into the TDC St. Kitts Nevis High School Championship, which is known as popularly as the Inter-High.
Right.
And that is coming to Nevis for the first time.
Right.
I think it's a historic occasion, a welcomed occasion. We have been having discussions regarding that since 2023,
right,
about the possibility of it coming over to Nevis. And as you're aware, the facility in St. Kitts is under repairs, and so early January, the direction was it's definitely going to be held in Nevis because of the track repairs. We're meeting with SKN Athletics, and I want to explain to the general public at this point in time that the TDC Inter-High is a SKN Athletics meet. It is not a Ministry of Sports, Education, Department of Sport Education, either St. Kitts or Nevis meet.
right,
Yeah, but what we do, we support SKN Athletics in executing the meet, because of course the children belongs to the Ministry of Education, both in St. Kitts and Nevis. The facility belongs to the Ministry of Sports, both in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so with the meet coming to Nevis, I know there's been a lot of talk about can the Ministry of Sports and Education in Nevis handle a meet of that nature. I will say that we can if we had to do it, because I'm confident in persons we have, but it's a SKN Athletic meet. They are the ones who are putting on the meet, executing the meet, but we are supporting, we are facilitating to ensure that they have a successful meet over here in Nevis. So we are lending, following a number of discussions during the whole consultation process, we are now lending support in areas to make sure that the meet is a successful meet.
Sure. So you're the facilitator and supportive of it,
yes,
and then the execution is from the
SKN Athletics.
SKN.
Yes, I just wanted to make that clear to the general public. So.
But you know, before we get off of that, listen, I don't know if you've ever gone to St. Kitts, because all of us have gone through high school. I went through the sixth form up here, and for those 2 years, I would have had to journey over to St. Kitts to run in the 2 and the 400 meters. Yeah, I used to be an athlete, you know. I used to come last down there. I say it publicly. I mean, you perform well here, you come either first, second, or third here on Nevis, and you make the team to go to St. Kitts. But we have gone down there and for those weekends. And indeed, at that time, we used to stay at the Bastia High School on cots and so forth. I think things are different now. We have progressed a long way in the right direction, if I can put it that way, whereby there's more comfort. And in terms of the movements between St. Kitts and Nevis, it's almost on the minute.
Yes,
on the minute. And I've been hearing a lot of things being said about persons getting to Nevis, and there are ways, various ways over at Uwali down here. And I believe what would have to happen in that regard is that now that we know that the event is coming to Nevis, all who can support the event in terms of transportation, in terms of food, in terms of places to stay, whatever the case might be, it gives us an opportunity here on the island to take advantage of these particular scenarios. Now, we would have gone over for years. Now, I'm thinking now that perhaps after the execution of this one, we might be able to say, well, have a rotation every 2 years. Who knows?
Yes,
and we have, and this is just me. You don't have to join in with me with this conversation. We'll get back to you, Jamir. But we have this notion in the Federation that everything that comes up, we have to make an issue out of it. And so we talk a good talk about being one as a federation, but when it comes to certain things, we are so divided. And in this case, where the opportunity has arisen, whereby Nevis is, well, we have the facility, in terms of the Mundo track. Of course, there's no pavilion, but I put that aside. I just pray and hope that we have some good weather for those days over here. That being said, the facility in terms of the surface is one of the best in the region. And of course, the children who are running would want to be exposed to that particular surface so that when they go beyond the shores of St. Kitts and Nevis, they are accustomed to such a surface. And that's what they'll get when they go to Grenada or where the Bahamas or wherever they go to. And so grass is not the thing now. Grass is not the thing now. It has to be that type of surface, the Mundo surface, or that athletic track that is there, and the surface that it provides is what persons should be exposed to, or young people, that is. So I am happy to hear that at least we're getting the chance to host this particular event, and I am hoping that all who are involved in some shape or form will get themselves in a state of readiness to take advantage and forget about the chatter. This is time for action, as they say, action and not talk. Yeah? So I just had to put in that. But
okay, so I want to. I also want to give a comment on that as well. We know that whenever there's some sort of change, persons are going to push back. But we've done, our ears are to the ground here in Nevis, here in St. Kitts as well. And a lot of the negative chatter is coming from the minority.
Right.
What a lot of people who haven't been following track and field don't realize is that athletes have been coming over from St. Kitts regularly on Sundays for various meets. So it's nothing new to a lot of the athletes, you know. A lot of the persons who jumped on social media after they realized the Inter-High is in Nevis and started to try to kind of downplay our importance. Let's just put it real how it is. Yeah, they have never really been involved in track and field. They're not big fans or passionate about track and field.
Right.
Yeah, if they were, they would recognize that the athletes have been coming over because their mates in St. Kitts, their mates in Nevis. And so the athletes have been going back and forth. The transportation mechanism that has been put in place, one of the best things that we did was develop that holy pier that needs to be pointed out. That so the transportation mechanisms and the logistics have been put in place. We've done it. While on a smaller scale, there's a framework for us to build out when it comes to moving larger number. So when we heard the chatter, I know I addressed some people, but most of them were in the minority. Most persons who we've had conversation with, particularly schools who are most important, they are looking forward to it. Sure. In addition to that, I mean, you talk about alternating it. I think it's a very good idea, but that's a discussion we'll have down the road. But of course, we're going to prove with this Inter-High that we can host an event of that nature. We have competent persons on our end who have done major events before. We have persons at SKN Athletic end who have also done major events. So the aggregate of these personnel will ensure that there's a successful meet. I also think for Nevis, it's an opportunity for us to really generate some additional economic activities. I know the boat carriers, most of them are going to be happy because they're going to get some good traffic that particular weekend. Vendors over here, we are going to see an increase. Well, I don't know if anything could touch into primary, but we get to that. But you know, they're going to see some additional customers who they're not accustomed to see. Taxi drivers, bus drivers taking persons from whether Charleston or Wally to Mondo. So for us, I think it's a great opportunity, but it's not just for the ministry being a partner in this, but for our boat providers, our taxi drivers, our bus drivers, our vendors, you know, to really generate some additional revenue.
Sure. Well, I'm confident that the infrastructure is there to support this event. And of course, you know, parents and well-wishers and those who support the athletes from St. Kitts, they'll come. So, for example, a mother and a father may come along with their son or daughter. So you'll see an increase. You said there may not be an event to match the...
you know, a lot of Kittitians come over for inter-primary.
I was going to get to that because we know what the numbers are usually like for the mini Olympics, let's call it that. I envisage and I hope and I wish that we'll get those type of numbers and more, because the facility can accommodate
easily.
and perhaps there was some some discussions as to the location of the Mundo track in the past, but there's a lot of space over there, and I think we should be able to. Plus, I would want to say though, if for example there are persons in St. Kitts, I don't know what someone Nevis may think, but if there is going to be a problem with transportation, the Sea Bridge is there. Put your coaster bus on the Sea Bridge and come over and add to whatever is happening here, because we want to make sure the convenience of movement and the logistics are fully laid out, whereby persons can get easy access to the Mundo track from whether Oali or whether Charlestown. So there'll be the possibility and opportunity for all, if the transportation network is not as good enough to support that. We can always work together as a federation to make that happen. So I'm looking forward to it, Jamir, and I'm sure you, being exposed to sports and being the director of sports, you yourself are seeking to put on the best show and want to make sure that you and your team are fully ready and equipped for this one. So it will be a historic one, a really historic one, and certainly the division public, I'm sure, in its entirety is looking forward to it. So that is the St. Kitts Nevis Inter High School Championship. So we move on from there, because that is big, yes, but they're still bigger.
Yeah, so yes, Mr. Jeffers. So once that Inter has been completed, our focus here in Nevis switches to the big one, the Mini Olympics, the Golf Insurance Bank of New Innovation Limited, Inter Primary. We have been working on this since last year. So just to give you a timeline, so after the last inter-primary, we met probably about 3 to 4 weeks after, to do our post-mortem evaluation, gathering information from all the various stakeholders, the good and the bad, little better, but we gather both. And so from gathering that intelligence, that information, we're able to do a SWOT analysis, see where we're at in terms of the development of the meet has become the event in Nevis, and so we are continuously trying to make sure we improve it. I always tell people that perfection is probably unattainable, but we always strive for excellence. And so meeting with these individuals, we got that information, and in earnest, we post-summer, then we got together as a steering committee, and I want to identify the members of the steering committee at this point in time. Miss Nicola Fraser, who is the chair, Mr. Alger Newton, who is the co-chair. I sit on the committee as well, sort of like an advisor to the youngsters. I want to put it that way. But also a special responsibility for sponsorship, marketing, and media. We also have the Deputy Principal Education Officer, Ms. Londa Brown, who also sits on the steering committee. Our PS, Jamir Claxton, sits on the committee as well, and Ms. Cordesia Waters, who's the steering committee secretary. So we have been having meetings, filling out the subcommittees, having discussions with all the relevant stakeholders, including sponsors, security, medical, police, disaster, fire and rescue, everybody that it takes, all the entities that it takes to bring the event together and make it a successful event. So we've been having these conversations since last year leading up to this year, and so we are well on our way to producing another outstanding meet. The mini Olympics, we still have that main sponsor being golf? Yeah, golf. So we have started. This started in 2023. We now have a joint title sponsor. Golf, of course. I want to again thank Golf for being our primary sponsor for many years. As a matter of fact, this year they're going to be celebrating 30 years of sponsoring the Inter-Primary Championship. Golf has been integral in helping us to build the championship to where it is today. They've Golf as an agency, and also the late Arthur Evelyn, who was very instrumental in helping us build the championship. So they should be commended for that. Last year, Bonnie which is now known as the Bank of New Innovation Limited.
Bank of Nevis International.
So they changed the name.
Oh, they changed the name?
Yeah.
Where
So,
am I?
so they know the Bank of New Innovation Limited.
Let's get that right.
Bank of New Innovation Limited. Yeah, so they came on board last year as a co-title sponsor, and we also want to thank them, and they have agreed to come back on board again this year. So they will proceed with the co-title sponsors for this year. The other sponsors who have also come on board, I know so far, Rams, they also won on board last year. They have made a commitment, National Bank as well, and we're also using this opportunity to encourage other sponsors to come on board and support the event. It is the biggest event in Nevis. Your investment will be worthwhile because it's going to shape in the future of this country, because sports is one of those vehicles that will give you a general idea of how future development will be, the type of persons you produce through sports and so forth. So if you're interested in sponsor, you can always reach me at the Department of Sports, 469-5521-6710, and we could have a conversation. We have a number of packages that we give to sponsors, and you could choose your package accordingly.
So you have platinum.
Yeah, so we have gold, silver, bronze. Gold, silver, bronze.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could reach out to us and we'll have that conversation. Yeah.
But it's important to note 30 years of sponsorship from Gulf Insurance. That's a generation, so a whole generation have been shaped over the years by the input and the impact of such sponsorship, and for sure we can all say out of that though, you can think of some athletes I'm sure who would have migrated to the different levels from primary school into high school and have transitioned into the international arena. If you have any you can think of, you can recognize some of them.
Off the top of my head, a lot of our best athletes, of course, would have passed through the championship. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Persons would have gone from primary school to, I'll take for example, most recently, Tiana Liburn.
Right.
You know that she is
recently.
Yeah, she was at St. James. You know that she's now at university. We also have Kamali Newton. Yeah, I'm just talking about the recent ones. He again would have passed through that Gulf Insurance primary school.
There's a Chapman as well.
Leroy Chapman. Yeah, he would have passed through. He's back now, but he would have passed through, gone on to the high school, and then went on to college as well. And there's so many more. The Keynes brothers.
Right.
Well, Xander Keynes, you know Xander again. So it is a platform. We know that everybody probably won't become world class.
Right.
Everybody won't reach the Olympics. One person who comes to mind who would have gone to Maritza Williams. Maritza Williams also participated. That's where she first made her name in terms of a national audience.
Right.
At the Gulf Insurance Inter-Primary School Championship. Maritza would have gone on to represent the country at Olympics and World Games, which is
just
the highest
don't
level.
gloss over her name, because it seems like she is instrumental in giving back.
And she's very instrumental in giving back, and it's somebody I like to work with, because we tend to do what we have to do and then put it and get it out there, and then we promote our athletes. We don't really take praise for the individuals we put out there, but we'll push to let the world know that this person has achieved this person is getting this, and so forth. But yeah, Maritza is one of those persons. She works quietly. She will keep in constant communication with me in terms of updates and so forth. And then when all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, then we let everybody know that this is happening or this has happened. Yeah, so.
And that is very commendable, and I certainly would want on my own behalf is to, express, the thanks and appreciation for all the work that everyone is doing out there, because, each one reach the other, each one touch one, and that's how, things are generally happen,
yes.
And we certainly appreciate that. So the mini Olympics, and that is at the end of March. What is the date?
So the mini Olympics is gonna be April 3rd, actually,
April 3rd.
The weekend after. So the Easter weekend will be Carifta in Grenada, and then after that, with the Wednesday, April 3rd, we'll have the big one, the Gulf Insurance Bank of New Innovation
I have to remember that one.
Inter-primary,
It's a surprise for me.
inter-primary, and as usual, I know we don't have to encourage people to come, but I'll still encourage people to come out and support our athletes. This is the foundation, this is the platform from where many great things can potentially happen.
So, and as it is, most, if not, let's say, practically most of the meets are held now
Yes.
at the Mundo track. That's the primary and
Primary
high
high
school.
school, yes, yeah.
Except perhaps what, St. James?
So,
is at St.
so
James.
St. James and Viogen,
Viogen.
yeah, those are the two. I know EPPS is having some discussions about where they stand, I guess because their population has dropped significantly. Yeah, so, but we still try to encourage everybody to have it at the Monday track. I know even St. James, there have been a number of parents who have reached out to me and trying to ask me to mandate that the school move their meet to the Monday track. You know, that's a discussion for us to have both with the school, the community, and so forth. I understand both sides of the story. I mean, both sides of the coin. Some persons have their own personal agenda, but at the end of the day, whatever decision we make should be in the best interest of the school and the children.
And the children, yes. And in the best interest of the children is a matter of getting them in an environment that will equip them to perform elsewhere. Because if you continue running down at Ball Pasture, for example, or even in Grove Park, then when you hit the rail track, there is a complete difference. And indeed, you know, some of these tracks as well too, you know, they're not flat.
They're not flat.
So you're running down an incline and up an incline, and it is a different type of race.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but all of the communities definitely cannot get a track similar to the Mundo track. And even though we would want to have some of these activities or events within the community where you'll have perhaps more support, the end result is that you want to be able to equip your boys and girls or children with the necessary skills to compete on the right surface when they get to that environment, really. So
I agree wholeheartedly with that. One of the things I always focus on in sports development is that you don't want any child to start with an unfair advantage. So
that's right.
Yeah, so I always try to,
so
as much as we can level the play.
Now, St. James and Viogen, they come to the track, I suppose.
Yeah, they do come to the track to do some training and so forth. So they are scheduled to use the track. We usually have a process where the schools apply. Well, apply sounds kind of, but we have discussions with the schools so to ensure that everybody get a chance to maximize the use of the track in preparation for inter-primary, and nobody is shortchanged in any way. Yeah.
Well, last year St. James, they came third overall or fourth, I believe, in terms of medals. And there were a few good athletes over there. I can think of this young lady who ran grade 4, I believe it was. I forgot her name, but anyway, she would have won two gold medals. So it doesn't necessarily matter where you come from. If the talent is there, and if the urge and the zest to win, you can say the zeal and the zest to win, then persons will go out, or the children will go out and perform. So I have no difficulties with persons utilizing the Mundo track. That's what it was built for, and I'm so happy the decision was made. We opened the Mundo track in 2018. 2018 was the first mini Olympics held there. Yes, and I recall that day. And since then, we haven't looked back. But of course, and I will say here publicly, there lots more to be done there. But I had a discussion with an athlete who said, if we can just get the track, keep it, maintain it, and also get the equipment, like for the field events, they are more important to him or to most athletes than a stadium, for example. But the stadium has to be built. But of course, if you have the necessary tools that the athletes need, I think that is most important. But there's no doubt about it that stadium has to be constructed and soon, and I believe we'll get there.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get there. We just, a lot of people, when it comes to building facilities, and not just sports, there's a lot of things that have to go into it. And we have to always consider population, use. We have to be practical in terms of putting up something that we have the capability and the personnel to maintain over a long period. So it's not just throwing up something for throwing it up sake. So I know the government is committed to completing the stadium. I've been a part of discussions as to how we go about it. I've had the opportunity to give my recommendations and so forth. So the completed stadium will come. We did touch on a point there in terms of what the athletes said. And just for the record, we've been procuring equipment for the track. Yeah, because so we've been procuring equipment. We've had some persons who have come on board to donate. For example, we now have over 100 hurdles, which was donated by Mr. Claxton of Reliable Motors. We just recently sourced some starting blocks, which are specifically for the track and for competition. We have our jumping bed that is on the way. We haven't had one. Nevis hasn't owned one in a long time. We used to have to borrow sink it. But we are investing in equipment, strategically based on our resources available. Of course, we have the electronic timing system. In the past, Nevis didn't have it all. We have to rent from St. Kitts. Borrow sometimes, but rent most of the time from St. Kitts. But we have an electronic starting gun, which is connected to the system, and we're hoping to get our own regular starting pistol, so as a backup to the electronic one. Yes, so we are investing in equipment. We have to be realistic. Sometimes we can't get everything one time, but we are strategically acquiring them piece by piece, and so we are getting there. So that is very important to note.
Yeah, what is amazing though is that all these good things are happening, and sometimes we don't know.
That's true. So I think, and that's something that I think probably we need to do a better job of promoting the work that we're doing. A lot of time people see the final results, but they don't see the process leading to those final results, and so sometimes it appears that we're not doing anything. Yeah, so maybe we need to, get better at, letting the general public know what we're doing each step of the way.
Sure, that's true, and that's the conversation I had with that particular gentleman. I can always call his name, my good friend there, Royston Quealy. He said, listen, Zook, I would prefer to see the equipment being bought so that the athletes can train and be equipped with these things before I even hurt my head about a stadium, and that was his conversation. I just had to mention that.
And
but yes,
I was going to say, and that was part of the original goal, that we knew that we needed a top-rate facility. But the most important, when it comes to athletic, who are the most important? The athletes. So we had to prioritize. The priority was getting the track laid out. Without the track, everything else basically don't make any sense. Yeah, the athletes. And then the second thing was to provide equipment for the athletes. And then, we'll get to the fans now, eventually, with the completion of the stadium.
I think a lot of things fell apart, Jamir, and I can speak as a member of the previous cabinet that we were in discussions with LEFCO to finance and build the stadium. We had some serious discussions, and numbers were already been thrown around in terms of what it would cost. Then you had 2020 came around when things fell apart. It is taking some time to get back to that point, because a lot of things that are happening now, we are recovering from those days. And yes, you may see a lot of economic activity taking place, but it's a matter of getting back to where we once were, and then moving ahead from that point. So I'm absolutely certain that is a mandate that we have as an administration to get that done. And once that is done, of course, it would be a huge addition to that asset, and it will be there for the benefit of one and all. But in the meantime, the equipment, the surface, and the athletes using the facility is most important, and that is happening. And we just have to continue to lend our support as we go along. So that takes care of the mini Olympics, and in between we did say that all of the different schools, high school and primary schools, will have their athletic meet.
And there are also, there are also some post inter primary meets that are coming up. I know, well, there's one which I think will excite a lot of persons. There's a parish meet being planned.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by some private individuals who of course reach out to the department and ministry for the necessary support. So that's going to be something I'm really looking forward to.
Yes.
To see, and I'm hoping to see a race between you and your fellow federal cabinet members representing.
Because they gotta come up to the They gotta come up.
Yeah.
You hear me say I was an athlete back in
so,
87 and 88, and so I used to be in St. Kitts and running against some champion athletes.
So that will be interesting. There's also supposed to be a OECS meet here.
Okay.
In July. You'll get more details on that later on, but
right.
the organization organizing it has already begun putting things together. I think that will be exciting for Nevis as well.
Sure.
That will show us that. I mean, we've been hosting regional meets. A lot of people haven't acknowledged it, but we've been hosting regional meets since we have that facilities. We have the Cultural Army Games.
Cultural Army Games, I recall.
Which is hosted by Timothy Keynes. We have athletes from all our neighboring countries. So we are showing that the track was a great investment. We are attracting regional meets as well, and I'm looking forward to the OCS Championship. We'll see which will see some of the top athletes from within the OCS region competing. So those are the ones I have off the top of my head.
Sure,
so they're going to be some posting to Premier Cultural Army Games, the parish. I don't know what they call it, the parish Olympics, but they have the official branding hasn't been done yet. Parish meet, and then we'll also have the OECS invitational things for all track and field enthusiasts to look forward to.
Very nice, very nice. So we'll have an extended athletic season this year.
Yes,
and that sounds good. But listen, Jamir, I will say to you that the effort that you are exerting there, you and your team, because we can't forget all of the other folks who work along with you. You have mentioned some names, Fraser and Algen Newton and others who are a part of the entire setup and the planning for the mini Olympics, of course. There are others, and those who would have contributed equipment, Claxton and all the others who would have contributed. You'll find a way to acknowledge them in the future as well too.
Yeah.
But this is a collective effort, because no one man and no single entity can sustain these events in terms of putting all the resources at the disposal of the Department of Sports or the Athletic Association. So everyone who contribute, we want to thank them, and we want to say that we are building a nation through athletics and sports, because once that discipline is instilled in our young people, I'm sure there's much that can be accomplished with those disciplines. So you yourself, you're a disciplinarian. You are helping to shape the future of our young minds and our young people, and as such you have to take that responsibility seriously, as simple as it sounds.
Yes.
You're there and you mingle, and they come to you, you give advice, you mix and mingle and among them from time to time when you have these meets and so forth. So trust me when I tell you they look up to you, and we appreciate all the effort that you continue to exert. A man from Bath
thank you.
Can make a big difference throughout the whole island of Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and beyond. Well, Jamir, we are running out of time. It was athletics this afternoon, and it's just about close off time. So I'll give you a chance if you want to impart anything in closing before I wrap up.
So I just want to end by saying, like you mentioned, I want to thank all the persons who have supported the Department of Sports, the Department of Education, and our ministry over the years. And also specifically this year for the track and field season, we have a number of, like you mentioned, it's not just the steering committee, there are a number of moving parts that help to make everything happen. So I want to thank you, all the coaches in the schools and the club coaches who put in a lot of work to get the athletes ready. I know sometimes they complain that they don't feel appreciated, but trust me, even though it's not said all the time, you are greatly appreciated. All the sponsors and all the potential sponsors, because there's still opportunities. Just wanted to encourage you. And finally, I want to encourage the general public to just go out and support all the sporting activities, all the sports, the various sports, the schools, the primary schools, the high schools, and of course the inter schools meet. So I will end with that.
Okay, very good, and it was quite refreshing having you here this afternoon, Jamir, because we can come and talk about social event, politics, and so forth. But I do believe there comes a time when there must be something different, and person's lunch hour was well spent this afternoon listening to you imparting some of the information that you have imparted. One thing that stand out is the fact that you would have said that there's some equipment that you have procured on the way, and I was not aware of that, but that is good.
Yes.
As you go along, we're adding, and of course at some point we'll get to the point where the stadium built and the facility, everything would be there to complement each other, and we certainly appreciate that. So thank you very much for coming.
It was my pleasure.
Commit to coming, and you didn't say that you were late because you were in St. Kitts at another meeting. It means that you're very busy.
Yes.
Making things happen, and we appreciate that you were able to come on over nonetheless to be with us here this afternoon. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're just out of time. I haven't heard the music yet, but my time is showing here just after 2, so it means I've gone a little bit over time. I want to thank the engineer for her patience with us. Thank you very much, and you've always been a supportive staff here at Von Radio. I want to thank the entire public for listening this afternoon, and as we always end off our program by saying, when someone tell you who they are, take them at their word. But when they show you who they are, you better believe it. You better believe them. And that is what I'm going to close off with and say, have a wonderful weekend. Go on out and have fun, yes. Be safe about it. And let us continue to build this very beautiful and gorgeous island of ours called Nevis. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. And bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
You're listening to Von Radio.